So let's talk about Nvda and QQQ, because Nvda, of course, had earnings last week. And you can see here pretty flat, all things considered. It had an expected 8% move, plus or minus 8% on the day. Yet you can see here really has been flat. So market makers won that round for sure. A lot of premium burn afterwards. So personally, I expect, because we saw those weekly contracts expire last week, we actually see the real move to start off this week between Monday and Tuesday. What's interesting is you can see based on the flow last week, there actually was quite a bit of bullish flow after the earnings report. So this is just Friday here for Nvidia, and you can see order like this, 7.3 million in premium for the 140 strike, only for the February expiration. That's not that far from now, since it's only November, and this one was above the ask, so there was some urgency to it as well. Additionally, there's quite a bit of put selling afterwards. You can see here 2.6 million, 500,000, 500,000, etc. Put sell orders. So all these are relatively bullish in their own regard. Over here, personally, like these are unusual, and they're highlighted in purple because they're very unusual orders because of the premium. However, as a big caveat, these are super deep in the money prints. They're basically taking the equity at that point. There really isn't much else that's going to factor into these positions because they're so far in the money. So you can treat these kind of like shares in a sense. Regardless, they were opening orders. Volume is over open interest. And then they have the April expiration as well. Even if they don't help us directionally speaking, still is quite a bit of premium flowing in to Nvidia. That's why I wanted to reference them here. You can see some of these other put sell orders we saw on Friday, quite a bit of premium there. And really the flow's been exceptionally active since the earnings report. It was before, even more so after. 1.3 million, 143 call, as you can see over here. So a lot of this is skewed to the bull side. And that's what I wanted to talk about today for this setup that I see. And really, it all comes down to this range. So what I'm going to do here is show you where this range is. We have the top over here, the supply zone, local supply zone, since it only goes back to early November, about 3 weeks or so. And then we have the lower end of the range over here, where you can see it was able to bid up. So until we have a breakout, either above, of course, that'd be a breakout, or break down below this range, we're going to be stuck within it. My expectation, like I said at the start of this video, is we will see that break occur. Now, the key to entering a position will be entering with whatever way it breaks. So I don't want to preemptively enter this position at 142, let's say, and be long and then have it break down straight below. Instead, I can wait, in this case, and I'll draw it out. I can wait for it to decide to break. Maybe it wants to go up early on during the week and then come back down. Not sure why I used a marker there. Use the brush, it's a bit better, but go back up and then come down over here, and then maybe it decides to break down and I can short under this level. We know that this would be a key level because we found the higher low, the first higher low of this local range formed over here. We have the exact bottom and then the higher low act as support. So if this higher low goes in the future, it should flush back down at least below where the current low is. So looking for over here would be a short setup. The inverse, where I would prefer, because flow is supporting it, like I showed you over here from Friday, the inverse would be we have it bid early on this week, continue a lot higher, and then have that breakout above 150. Nice psychological level, as well as a clear resistance from over here, because it did reject numerous times, and then a hard rejection over here on the 50-minute candle. I'd look for something like an hourly candle close above this level, would enter, and my risk would be a breakdown back under roughly 148 mid over here. If it falls back under, we could realistically see something like this, where it continues higher, have that hourly close, enter. If it were to fall back under, close the hourly back under, I'd stop out. Otherwise, assuming it doesn't want to, and odds are in favor here of continuation, since we broke above the range, and then I could see maybe a retest and then continuation, or it can just continue a lot higher. This is my preferred setup. Of course, I'm willing to trade either end, but flow is supportive of the bull side. So if it does break out above, we can see a trend move, a continuation. As long as it remains within the range, though, not interested in trading too much chop. I like trend moves. That's where I thrive, waiting for those trend moves to approach, waiting for that setup to show itself to me. In this case, as long as it wants to chop in between like this, it's just not a good enough setup. Maybe if you like to scalp intraday, you can see a setup there based on this clear demand zone and supply zone. But I'm looking for the trend, and these whales are as well. So that's my plan for Nvidia this week. As for QQQ, another one, as we can see here, there is an ascending wedge pattern. It's not perfect. Let me get rid of that, but it's not perfect because we did, of course, break down below, as you can see here, and then also attempt to break out above. However, the structure still remains the same. We're near the upper end of this ascending wedge pattern. So what I'd like to see personally is a breakout above 506.50. Clearly, there was quite the resistance, as you can see, between Thursday and Friday of last week, because all of this area up here acted as a rejection spot. We didn't reject super hard and have it go all the way back down like we did over here, for example, on early Thursday. Hard rejection, it fell quite a bit. However, it's still having difficulty breaking above 506.50. If we see either a breakout intraday above here or a gap up above, this is going to fly. It should skyrocket to 510 bare minimum. I'm actually expecting higher from there. So this would be a breakout of both the 506.5 resistance, but then also a breakout of the ascending wedge pattern. That's very bullish. That's two bullish factors. Would be very nice for continuation. Based on flow last week, I didn't see much on Friday. To be honest, you can see here really not that much overall. If we look at the historical flow though for the week, see a bit more premium. Nothing out of the ordinary still though. And I'll show you why. Like for example here, this would be the most out of the ordinary, highly unusual $1 million out the money call print. And they got this at 504.42. This was very short dated at the time though. You could see it already expired last week, 11/22. So not really that helpful for this upcoming week, but still there was some bid. Overall, they were bullish intraday. But really, as you can see for the rest of these, some call sell orders short dated. These were 0-day expiration, I believe. Yeah, 0-day expiration, call sell orders. So the open, really nothing too directional for a longer term basis. Other than maybe this here, 2.6 million was not the money, a little bit in the money for the June expiration. So haven't really seen much, all things considered. So I would like to see that complement a breakout. So let's say we gapped up above 506.50 and then we saw a bunch of call flow, kind of aggressive like we saw from this print last week. Highly unusual, a 1-day expiration, 0-day expiration, either of those work, then that would be very bullish for continuation a lot higher. I'd like to see something like that complement a breakout here. So waiting on that personally, but still very similar to Nvidia. It needs to break out above the upper end of the range that is formed in order to establish that continuation move. Until that happens, it's useless. It's going to be chopping, kind of like it did between Thursday here and Friday. And I don't like chop. I don't like trading that at all. I don't have it set up for it. I don't personally scalp much in terms of chop. I look for trend moves, and you're not going to get a trend move every day, but when you do get it, it pays handsomely. So that's why I'm always looking for them. Regardless, as always, appreciate you guys watching this video. See you next time.